in the Pledge of Allegiance. Will the Secretary please call roll?
Commissioner Benninger,
Here.
Commissioner Escamilla, Commissioner Leo,
Here.
Commissioner Pham, Commissioner Wu,
Here.
Vice Chair Ramos,
Present.
Chair Oliva.
Here.
Chair quorum has been reached at 5:36.
Before we begin, I would like to remind my fellow commissioners to turn your microphones on when speaking and off when not speaking. And when speaking, please place the microphone about 4 inches away from you. Thank you. Members of the public may attend Planning Commission meetings in person or virtually via Zoom. I now invite the Commission Secretary to describe the way the public can access and participate in these meetings.
This meeting is being live streamed via our portal at www.sana-ana.primegov.com/public/portal and to YouTube at www.youtube.com City of Santa Ana Videos. If you would like to provide public comment, you may do so in the following ways. Join the meeting via Zoom. When the item you wish to comment on is being discussed, please enter the meeting ID number 886-3599-4149. Select the hand icon to indicate that you would like to speak. Once called upon, remember to unmute yourself and state your name for the record. You can also join the meeting by calling 669-900-6833. Enter meeting ID number 886-3599-4149. When the item that you would like to comment on is being discussed, press 9 to let us know you would like to speak. You will be called upon by the last 3 digits of your phone number. After you're called upon, you may press 6 to unmute yourself. For those who are attending this meeting in person and would like to provide public comment, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the recording secretary. All speakers will have 3 minutes to speak. We will alert you when your time is up.
Moving on to public comments on non-agenda or non-public hearing items. Secretary, does anyone wish to speak?
If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on non-agenda or non-public hearing items, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you are participating via Zoom and would like to comment on non-agenda or non-public hearing items, please select the hand icon to let us know you would like to comment. If you're calling in and would like to comment on non-agenda or non-public hearing items, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. I will wait for a few seconds. Right in the front. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you. I want to make note that Commissioner Pham joined us at 5:36.
Commissioner Pham.
Commissioner Pham, who did I say? Oh my goodness, I am so sorry. Whoa, I am so sorry. Moving on to the consent calendar. Is there a motion to approve item A, minutes from February 2024-25 and March 6, 2025, and item B, excused absences?
I so move.
I have a
Second.
motion. I have a motion from Commissioner Benninger and a second from Commissioner Wu. Secretary, please call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Benninger,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla, Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Pham,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair Ramos,
Aye.
Chair Oliva.
Aye.
Motion approved by majority vote with Commissioner Escamilla absent.
That concludes the consent calendar items. Moving on to the public hearing. I will now review the process for the public hearing so that everyone knows what to expect. Staff will provide a presentation and answer questions from the commission. Then the public hearing will be opened. The applicant will be given the opportunity to speak, limited to 15 minutes. Members of the public will be given the opportunity to comment, limited to 3 minutes. The applicant will be given the opportunity to respond to comments made by the public, limited to 5 minutes. Then the public hearing will be closed. Discussion will return to the commission with formal action taken to approve, deny, or continue review of the application. Please consider the following suggestions when organizing your comments. Please state your name and address, strictly voluntary. State whether you support, oppose, or are neutral to the proposal. Your statement should include all pertinent facts within your knowledge. Please note, decision on this matter is final unless appealed within 10 days by any interested individual or party. Recommendations on this item will be forwarded to the City Council at a later date for final determination. Before we begin, I would like to share that item 4, conditional use permit number 2025-03 and variance 2025-01, the applicant has requested a 30-day continuance, so we will visit that item at a later date. Now, this is the time and place for conditional use permit 2024-15 for the property located at 2800 North Main Street, located within the specific plan number 4. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item? Seeing none, Heidi Jacinto will provide a brief presentation, and I want to make note that Commissioner Scamilla has joined us at 5:42.
Thank you, Chair Oliva. Good evening, members of the Commission. The application before you this evening is for conditional use permit number 2024-15 for the property located at 2800 North Main Street within Ward 3. The applicant is requesting approval of CUP number 2024-15 to allow the conversion of 2 existing freeway-oriented on-premise digital signs to off-premise advertising digital signs, also known as digital billboards, and to allow them to continue to exceed the 60-foot height maximum. Staff's recommendation is that the Planning Commission approve CUP number 2024-15 as conditioned. The project site is located within District Center Medium and the Main Place Specific Plan, also known as SP4. It is surrounded by residential and commercial land uses in the City of Orange to the north, residential and commercial land uses to the east, an office to the south, and single-family residences across the I-5 freeway to the west. The associated properties on which the project sites are located collectively equate to 49 acres, which is 2,134,440 square feet. The signs in question were originally constructed as part of the establishment of Regional Sign Program application number 2014-01, which was conditionally approved by the Planning Commission on May 1st, 2015. This was subsequently approved by City Council on June 2nd, 2015. Following on July 19th, 2022, the City Council adopted ordinance number NS 3023, which allowed for the conversion of existing freeway-oriented on-premise digital signs into off-premise advertising digital billboards, provided they met the new regulatory standards, after which the applicant submitted for the conversion request on October 12, 2023, and collaborated closely with city staff to ensure full compliance with the applicable development standards, design criteria, and negotiated and established the terms of the operating agreement. The applicant proposes to convert 2 existing freeway-oriented digital signs into digital billboards. The first sign is currently located along the I-5 freeway and extends to a height of 81.83 feet, with a sign area of 672 square feet. The second sign is positioned along the Garden Grove Freeway and stands at a height of 71.83 feet, with a sign area of 623 square feet. The proposed conversion would transition the existing digital signs to digital billboards by allowing them to provide off-premise advertising in the display, in addition to the already provided civic promotions. Currently, the signs only display main place-related advertising, also known as on-premise advertising. The physical structures of the signs would remain largely unchanged, with the primary change being the type of digital content being displayed. The physical changes would include removing the tenant identification signs and adding Santa Ana to the support beam to comply with the Santa Ana Municipal Code. Lastly, each sign features 2 displays, is supported by a single post, and is located within a landscape planter. On the screen, we have photos of the signs. And this is the site plan. The star identifies where they are located. Staff recommends approval of the project based on the following analysis. When constructed as part of the approval of RSPG number 2024-04, the signs were designed to fully comply with the city's development standards at the time, adhered to regulations outlined in the Santa Ana Municipal Code related to height, sign area, design, location, and brightness. These signs remain in conformance with city standards. The physical structures of the signs, as previously described, would remain largely unchanged, with the primary change being the type of content that would be displayed. The signs are located at least 1,000 feet from each other, are appropriately scaled to the surrounding development, and are positioned a minimum of 250 feet from existing historic landmarks. The project would also provide additional benefits to the city and contribute to the economic viability of Main Place Mall without introducing new impacts to the surrounding community, as the signs are already existing. The project also aligns with several goals and policies of the general plan that encourage land uses that not only respect but enhance the existing character of the community and promote the city's economic prosperity. The new revenue stream is anticipated to enhance the economic viability of Main Place Mall and the city. Pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act, the project is categorically exempt from further CEQA review per Section 153101 of the CEQA guidelines, which applies to existing facilities. And environmental review number 2023-111 will be filed for this project. As it relates to the fiscal impact, the project will generate an annual operating fee payable to the city in the amount of $100,000 in the first year, $106,468.72 in the second year, and $113,355.95 in the third year. Thereafter, the fee increases approximately at a rate of 6.46% annually for the duration of the 20-year operating agreement. The total agreement remittance amount would be $3,869,408.98. Based on this analysis provided, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving CUP number 2024-15. That concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions, and the applicant is in the audience also available for questions.
Does the commission have any comments or questions for staff? Commissioner Benninger.
Thank you. Have we had any complaints on the brightness of these signs by the residents?
As far as any code enforcement complaints, there is no record of code enforcement complaints. As I understand, when the signs were originally constructed, staff was in communication with the neighborhood and worked with the applicant to install equipment that would adjust the brightness and then limited the hours of operation to midnight.
Okay, but signs have been operating for a while. Have we heard any complaints during that time?
Since then, no.
Very good. I love the terminology largely unchanged. I tried that with my parents in my high school grades and didn't go over well. What does largely unchanged means? Because this basically is just a software change, is it not?
So if you look at the screen, the signs will remain the same, but the tenant ID signs where it says Main Place, Macy's, JCPenney, those would be removed, and then Santa Ana would be added below the sign.
Okay, that's a larger change than what I thought. Also, the increase yearly of 6.8, is it? Or 6.48, I'm sorry. In light of all that's going on inflation-wise, it seemed low. How do we arrive at that number?
Commissioner, thank you for your question. The operating agreement was negotiated in coordination with our city manager's office and the applicant. It is a figure that reflects sort of anticipated inflationary increases in CPI, being around 6%. That was the number that was landed on through negotiations. The applicants are here this evening and can also answer for why they believe that's a number that works for both the city and them.
Does the signs bring in money to the city now?
No.
So this is all additional revenue,
Yes.
new revenue, which is good. I like that. That's all my questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Scamilla.
Yeah, thank you for the presentation. So just to be clear, we are essentially not increasing the height. We're not increasing the signable area. We're just allowing for the transition from on-premise advertising to off-premise advertising. That's the crux of what we're doing today.
Correct. And then the reference to the exceeding the height is to memorialize the already over height signs.
Okay, perfect. So I guess the only other thing for me is that for my interpretation of the design requirements is the ultimate approval authority is still with the with the city council, but we can make a recommendation based off of how big that word Santa Ana needs to be. So I know right now the font that I'm seeing, at least on the design, looks relatively small. So I'm just wondering if we do have kind of like a base level of it has to be a certain height or certain visibility, because I think at this point it probably falls below the minimum that's visible to the human eye as you're passing by it on the freeway. So I that's really just my only area of concern on the design is how prominent is the word Santa Ana displayed, and whether or not there's a minimum font size that we should be looking at. Again, I don't know exactly what that calculation should be, but I do think that the current design as proposed, it looks relatively small to me. So that's the only other thing where I would critique it. And I guess I would also see these billboards as an opportunity for, how does one say this? Not just placemaking, because it's not exactly placemaking, but branding for the city. So an opportunity to introduce the city's official logo or official motto, the Golden City. So any combination of Santa Ana, the Golden City, something like that, I think would be worth consideration for the city council if we have a little bit more specifics. And then the only other thing then from the application package is I saw the proposed designs for one of the billboards, but I didn't see it for the other. So I wasn't sure if I was missing that, but at least on the packet, I didn't see the second, I guess, before and after the change. So I'm not sure if I just missed that.
So the design, it would be the same. I'm not sure if it was not included in the packet, but it should have been. So it would be in the same location and then the same instances where the signage would be removed. But staff can work with the applicant to provide a Santa Ana of a more prominent scale.
Yeah, and again, just to establish whatever that minimum is, because I don't necessarily think that we have a minimum standard at this point. It's more just our discretion and well, I guess my point would be larger, the better, but yeah, within reason.
Commissioner, you are correct that there's no sort of like standard because each billboard is unique in its placement and design and aesthetic. These applications stop at the Planning Commission. The operating agreement is recorded by the city manager's signing authority. So I would say, given the current dimensions that are on the plans, shows the sign width as 9 feet and the overall billboard width is 48 feet. So I'd say if there's a desire among the commission to see the size of Santa Ana increase, just know that it's 9 feet versus 48 feet. It would benefit staff to know like what that magic number is for the commission, and then we can always ask the applicants if they accept like a new condition or a modification to that regard.
Yeah, and I think it's a reasonable question to have for the applicant is, what's a reasonable size? Again, just looking for visual prominence as you're going hopefully 65 to 70 miles an hour on either the 5 or the 22. What might potentially be visible from either angle.
And to clarify, so page 3 of the plans is, I believe, the one along the 5, and then page 6 is the one along the 22. But they look very similar.
Oh, thank you.
Commissioner Leo,
No questions.
Vice Chair Ramos.
Thank you. Yes, I have some similar questions to Commissioner Scamilla. So just also concerned with the size of Santa Ana. So I'm hearing it's 9 feet. I'm looking at what's existing. I see the tenant names are at 12 feet while the main place small name was at 18. So I think that just helps us see proportionally what it would look like. So I would also like to see something larger, hear if the applicant is amicable to that, and then see what the commission might land on. Right now, I'm thinking somewhere between 12 to 18, just based off what I'm seeing. And then I also had a question on the design itself. So I know we're removing a lot. We're also removing the time and temperature. Is that something that our city design, like guidelines, if any, require? Or was that something the city requested or the applicant wanted to do?
The applicant, I believe, in conversations with the applicant, that was directed by Caltrans.
So is that like new Caltrans guidance on all digital signs?
Right.
Okay,
Correct.
so that's helpful. I was gonna ask why we were doing it, but if that's Caltrans direction, then I understand. And those are my questions for now. Thank you.
Commissioner Pham.
Thank you, Chair. As part of our signage program, do we moderate the type of content that is being displayed on the billboard? Or is, we're hands-off on the content?
The city would not be involved in the content. I believe they are hiring a third-party billboard company that would be leasing the advertising.
The only reason I asked that question is because we're attaching the city's name to that billboard. I just don't want any conflicting messaging that that might occur where you see City of Santa Ana, and then on top might be something that's antithetical to our values as a city. So I was just wondering if there's kind of any moderation that is included in the operation billboards. But that's just a comment. Yeah.
Commissioner Wu.
I'd like to follow up with that question along the line. I take it with the conditional use permit being permitted, that there's a monitoring aspect and enforcement aspect that the planning department will be involved in, right? Should you get complaints, say the lights are too flashing and interfere with people driving on the 2 highway or messaging and things of that nature, right?
Yes, so similar to other conditional use permits, should there be complaints, the city, or its code enforcement division would be investigating those complaints and addressing them accordingly.
Right, so, we don't need to anticipate all circumstances, but we have asked enough questions to cover the base. Thank you very much.
My fellow commissioners have asked the questions that I have. So now the public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Hello, my name's Corey Sams from Main Place Mall. I'm obviously advocating for this project. I'd like to address a couple of your, happy to make the sign, the Santa Ana, as large as possible. So, Golden City thing phrase onto it. Reason that the limitation, or we do have some limitations with the overall size of the sign per Caltrans. That's the reason we're actually removing all the additional signage below. So I might have some limitations on what the maximum overall square footage the sign is, but we can maximize. Regarding your concerns about content moderation, 6C actually does have some what content is acceptable and prohibited. So prohibited is sexually explicit messages, violent or hate, and other obscene messages. There's some criteria in there. Plus, our name's on it as well, so have anything offensive either.
Does the commission have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Benninger?
Yes, not only is it important to the size of Santa Ana, but also what colors are you planning? Is it going to be dark blue on gold, kind of city colors, or what color combination you're planning?
The intent was the city colors of blue and gold.
Very good. Just want to find out. Also, as I asked earlier about the yearly increase, percentage increase, how was that arrived to?
That was calculated based on anticipated revenue generated from the signs, and share allocation to. Now, the difference between a traditional billboard operator simply puts up the sign and sells and builds and sells a sign and advertising themselves. We actually do not do that. We have the sign, but we don't actually sell the content. We third party who do that for us. So they actually take a large chunk revenue share off the top and bring the signage. What's remaining is that basically we shared that with the city, and based on that anticipated revenue escalations over the years, that's the calculation we were.
Well, I do like the changing signs. I love those more than a permanent one. I think it's just much more attractive up there. The only thing is it's kind of one of the things, the engineering has been done on this, but do you know what that sign can tolerate? How much wind speed or and extreme forces? Sorry, the engineer comes out in me. I'm sorry.
No.
I'd just be curious to find that out. So I'm sure there's a design standard that's up to, because that large a surface with wind blowing against it, can be an awful lot of resistance. And obviously it hasn't come down now, so you got a good start, but I'm just kind of curious what design criteria are for. Yeah, they must, because if not, we would have had it down this last windstorm for sure on it. Yeah. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Escamilla.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. And like my colleague's suggestion of the blue and gold standard, that seems to, I think that no one will have a problem with that. I guess just for a question, maybe longer term, as the sign right now looks like it's perfectly fine, relatively recent LED installation, but will there be any plans or at least consideration in the future for more directional LEDs to even to minimize the kind of light impact and the light pollution even further? I know that that's something that we've started to see in different billboard standards, but it looks like right now it's a fully operational sign, so this is really probably going to be more software and back end. But have there been any thoughts, or have you looked or analyzed what potential glare reductions are out there? I guess it's really more of a general question with no specific answer. And if you haven't, totally okay. But just trying to at least broach the conversation.
Contact. Right. I am.
Thank you.
Commissioner Leo.
No questions.
Vice Chair Ramos. Commissioner Pham.
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Wu.
I don't know if I have an appropriate question, because it's limited to the sign, right? And stretching it a little, the purpose of marketing, is that related?
Not quite sure I followed the question. However, there is one possibly,
Well,
there is a.
where I'm going is that regional shopping centers are changing as marketplace, and the income of the people doing the shopping and the ones that are using it for exercise are two different people, and the entertainment people that uses the tenants that provide that entertainment restaurant thing, they're all different income level. The income level of Santa Ana is quite changing as well, and may change further because of other policies at other levels. So I'm looking at, will your new digital kind of provide more attraction of those with more income to come to, so we could continue to have a shopping center there? Yeah.
We certainly hope to have a shopping center there as well, at least. So one thing that you mentioned about Ocean, placemaking, or for lack of a better term. There is one time slot that is reserved for the city for public announcements and promoting the city. We also have a slot that's reserved specifically for tenants at Main Place to promote them as well in traffic center. Tenants existing and tenants of the future that we have there as well. And then the rest would a minimum. These are minimums for the city and for the public. Will certainly, any vacant space rotations, I'll certainly put them all. The rest would be.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking at the the traffic at the block, Irvine and Spectrum and all, all those other ones, and who was actually there shopping, so. Okay, that's all.
Thank you.
And no additional questions on my end. Thank you. Recording Secretary, have we received any written communication, or is there a member of the public that would like to comment on this item? You're able to take a seat.
Thank you.
Chair, we have received a total of 4 emails in the form of public comments for this item before the 3:30 p.m. deadline, which has been distributed to the commission and posted online. If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon to indicate that you would like to speak. If you're calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. We also have another speaker.
I call forward to the microphone Kyle Kingston.
Evening. Can you guys hear me okay? So my name is Kyle Kingston. I do live on Jonquil Road, Manning before Conley. So I was on the association board at Jack Fisher Park Neighborhood Association. When the first 2 billboards went up, I didn't receive this notice. Billboards all of a sudden up bright, super bright. I have a picture on of what now, a lot different than what it looked then. But we weren't notified of it. And that's kind of why I'm here, is just to make sure when the next 2 billboards go up, clearly I don't see a lot of people here, but it does directly affect neighborhoods. For them to say it doesn't really affect neighborhoods, it certainly does. Because when I sit down to watch the evening news, I have to close my blinds, otherwise I see on Roberto Fuller's advertising. So the lighting issue was addressed, and the way it was addressed, I don't know if you guys know Mark McLaughlin. I believe I have his name correct. He showed up to one of our meetings. He's part of our Floral Park Neighborhood Association as well. And we were talking about these billboards that just all of us heard. And now, I mean, they're big, they're bright. It's like the Las Vegas Strip when they pretty bad, to the point where our neighbors had guests over and they said, when did the drive-in get installed? It was that big and it was that bright. Luckily, Mark kind of pulled me aside and said, hey, some people over there at Main Place Mall, we'll talk to them about the hours. We'll talk to them about light, because the light pollution was duper. I've turned it down, restrict the timing. So it is much better than it was, but the way that it was thrown onto it, things just obstructed, huge, does affect people. I can see it from my front porch. As a matter of fact, I took a picture of it from my front porch just this evening. Came down with one of my neighbors, because it does affect some people. It doesn't affect them all, depending on the way your house is positioned. I'm across the street. I can clear it today. Now, only on 52 seconds left, but I know I'm not going to sway your decision not to get these 2 more. There's already 2 billboards there. I hope that they've worked out the kinks and whatnot, and it doesn't affect the other residents. It doesn't look like they're going to affect me because of where they're positioned, 22 freeway. And I can see that giant center. That's been there forever. My kids like it. The billboards, my kids don't like. But I just want to come and just make a comment to say that last time it didn't go, hoping this time it goes a lot smoother for you guys and the city gets what they need.
Thank you. The public, is there any speakers on Zoom?
No, we don't have any additional speakers.
Perfect. The public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve this matter?
I move that we adopt the recommended action, adopt a resolution approving conditional use permit number 2024-15 as condition, which means there'll be monitored, yes, to allow for the conversion of 2 existing freeway-oriented on-premise digital signs to digital billboards, and to allow the digital billboards to continue to exceed 60 feet in height.
Is there a second?
Commissioner Wu, would you consider a friendly amendment?
Let's hear it, yeah.
Yeah, so just to uplift the request that Commissioner Escamilla and I had to make the Santa Ana sign bigger. So I heard that the applicant is amicable to that to the extent that Caltrans allows it based off whatever square footage. And I heard they're amicable to that maximum, so we can add that language. So increasing the size of the Santa Ana sign to the maximum size allowed by Caltrans.
Actually, I was,
Are you open to that friendly amendment? If not, I'll make a
not really,
sub-motion
so
to include
someone
it.
else gonna have to make the motion then.
Okay, I'd
So
like
you can
to,
include it.
thank you. I'd like to make a new motion to go with staff's recommendation along with the language I just stated.
Is there a second for Vice Chair Ramos?
Yeah, Vice Chair Ramos, I'd also like to make a friendly amendment. It also include, because it seemed the applicant was actually open to including the city motto as well, the Golden City, which actually is amazing, and I love the idea that they can include that as well. That way it's not just limited to Santa Ana, it would be Santa Ana, the Golden City, in blue and gold within Caltrans parameters.
I accept your friendly amendment.
Okay.
Can I just share,
I-
for visibility and readability purposes, if the motto doesn't fit, would we be okay with just Santa Ana?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. So
So-
we have a motion.
What did you second,
I-
Commissioner Escamilla? No.
I second, yes, sorry.
I call the question.
I would like to ask a friendly to this. Gentleman from Fisher Park brought up a very good point. I'd like to add amendment to it that the main place meet with the neighborhoods around there after the signs are up, just one last time to say, is this okay with you guys? I fully understand what happened at first. I fully understand changes that they made. I just think we owe that to neighborhoods to let them have that comment. And there are neighborhoods meetings in that area that they can attend.
Thank you, Commissioner Benninger. So I think staff wants to comment, and then can staff also clarify whether these are new signs or just updates to existing signs?
You read my mind, Commissioner Vice Chair. So just for anyone listening, these are not new signs that are being proposed. It's conversion of existing billboards that are up there to allow different content to be displayed. So while I do believe that is a very good idea, I think for all these changes, now that we're finalizing them, it's good to ask the applicants if they agree to these conditions, which I'm sure they'd be amenable to meeting with the neighborhood as the modifications to the structures take place. But I think we should ask the applicants if they're amenable and if they understand them the way that the commission intends for them.
Thank you.
With that, I will open the public hearing again and call forward the applicant so that we can ask if you accept the friendly amendments.
Hi, so just to restate, I heard us adding 3 things to staff recommendations. 1, increasing the size of the Santa Ana signage to the maximum allowed by Caltrans. 2, adding the Golden City to that if it fits and looks okay. And then 3, asking that you meet with the neighboring neighborhood associations. So I believe it would be Jack Fisher, maybe West Floral, potentially Riverview, but I think city staff can help determine which of any neighborhood associations.
Yeah, I think those two are appropriate.
Yes, I'm certainly committed to the Santa Ana and Golden City as well. If more letters we add, the smaller it gets. So yes, I'm on maximize visibility, and should we ever be able to go 65 on the 5 freeway, then great.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, because I'm thinking it's whatever main place mall on Santa Ana, whatever font size that was, it'll probably end up something like that scale, I imagine. But
As long as whatever the maximum Caltrans allows, yes, I can do it. As far as meeting with the neighborhood associations around us, I've been invited to a few meetings in the past, and happy to attend those. Happy to attend again. And again, just to clarify, this is just effectively changing content. I think that might have been unclear before thinking it was addition of signs.
The only thing I can see with the changes are, don't you have more action on those signs than you have presently? moving actions? I assume with the new bulletin boards, there'll be more movement on them than you presently have? Your displays are going to be more active than what they presently are?
There might be more content, yeah, so it might rotate more. I mean,
Yeah.
filler pieces in there right now, just because there's not sold content, so we'll put in general filler in.
So even though it's the same equipment, I think it may be a little flashier, a little different to end up viewing. That's what my concern is.
There might be more content. I mean, the speed and doesn't change for Caltrans. There's a speed just so it doesn't distract drivers. So it wouldn't necessarily be a flashy sort of,
Gotcha.
particularly obnoxious sort of content. But yeah, still have to meet where they're concerned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I will now close the public hearing. And is there a motion to approve the conditional use permit with the friendly amendments of increasing the signage to the maximum allowed by Caltrans for maximum visibility, as well for adding the city name and motto if it fits, and meeting with the neighborhood association meetings? Do I have a motion?
Yeah, so I stand by the original motion and then ensuring that the neighborhood associations I listed are included. So I mentioned Fisher Park, West Floral or Floral, and Riverview, and then leaving it to staff to decide what, if any others are appropriate.
I second that.
I have a motion by Vice Chair Ramos and a second by Commissioner Benninger. Secretary, please call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Benninger,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Pham,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
My motion was more simpler, but aye.
Vice Chair Ramos,
Aye.
Chair Oliva.
Aye.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
This is the time and place for conditional use permit number 2025-04 for the property located at 600 West Santa Ana Boulevard, Unit 600, located within the Professional Zoning District. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item? Vice Chair Ramos?
Yes, I spoke with Pam Cepetto, who I believe is consulting with the applicant.
Vice Chair Pham?
I got a telephone call, but I didn't talk to anyone who was on my voicemail, and I deleted as soon as I couldn't hear everything.
Mr. Pedro didn't reach out to me to ask if I had any questions on the matter.
Yeah, same. Got a call from Pam Spetto, did answer. Yes.
Okay, thank you for disclosing. I hope everybody submitted expertise forms if there was a conversation. With that said, Nancy Tran will provide a brief presentation.
Good evening, Commissioners. The item before you is a request for conditional use permit number 2025-04, which seeks. Sure. The item before you is a request for conditional use permit number 2025-04, which seeks approval for a medical office operated by a nonprofit government subsidized entity operating as Child Guidance Center located at 600 West Santa Ana Boulevard, Unit 600, which is located in Ward 5. Staff recommends adopting a resolution approving the conditional use permit as conditioned. The subject property's general plan designation is Urban Neighborhood 30 and it is zoned professional. Surrounding land uses vary. Government offices and a public park to its north, a school and gym to its east, multifamily located south, and a bank adjacent to its west. The site is approximately 1.7 acres and is developed with an existing 11-story multi-tenant building with a garage. Child Guidance Center relocated to Unit 600 in 2023 and has been operating medical offices there without a required CUP. Operations in Units 202 and 205 also began in 2023. Recent changes to the Santa Ana Municipal Code in 2022 and 2023 require medical offices run by government, nonprofits, or government subsidized entities must obtain a CUP prior to operating. On October 29, 2024, the applicant submitted a development project review application to change the use of Unit 600 to a medical office for Child Guidance Center. This is a building where the medical office is seeking the CUP approval to operate. This is the floor plan of the entire sixth floor where the medical office is located. And this is the partial floor plan of the 2 suites on the second floor, which house administration offices for the organization and its Strong Families, Strong Children program. No medical services are proposed or provided in these units, so a conditional use permit is not required for these 2 units. A CUP is required for the proposed use to ensure that there are no detrimental effects to the adjacent or neighboring land uses or the overall community. The site's location, design, and existing operations, ample parking, and nearby transit address concerns like traffic, noise, and compatibility. The facility supports the general plan's vision of integrating commercial, residential, and healthcare spaces. The subject project is consistent with the goals and objectives found in the general plan's community and land use element. The project is exempt from CEQA as it meets the eligibility requirements of Class 1 existing facilities, category exemption, Section 15301. There's no fiscal impact associated with this action. Staff can make all findings and recommends approving conditional use permit number 2025-04. And this concludes my presentation. I'm available for questions.
Thank you. Does the commission have any comments or questions for staff? Commissioner Benninger.
Yes, I'm a little concerned about the timing. They start off in units 205 and 206. And when did they move to the 6th floor?
They all moved into the units around the same time.
Around the same time. Was there any modifications or done to either the 6th floor or the 2nd floor when they moved in?
No.
Okay. Since the council passed the request for CPUs, it's almost a year and a half later that they're applying. What's the reason for the delay?
They were unaware of the requirement for the CUP until they submitted a certificate of occupancy application. And that was when they were notified.
Do they require to do anything outside? Everything's inside in this building. Nothing's outside, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Because I'm a little concerned about Nova Academy that's in that area, but we're okay. All right. I'm fine. Thank you.
Commissioner Scamilla.
Just wanted to confirm what the exact qualification and trigger point was for this CUP requirement. Was it that they were a nonprofit or government subsidized or both?
I believe it's both.
Both. Okay.
Commissioner Leo.
No questions.
Vice Chair Ramos. Commissioner Pham.
No questions.
Commissioner Wu.
No questions.
I don't have questions either. The public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter?
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Lori Pack, and I'm the CEO of Child Guidance Center, a nonprofit organization. Child Guidance Center has been providing mental health services to Orange County children, teens, and their families since 1967, and in particular, the Santa Ana community for over 50 years. CGC was at its last location off of Cabrillo Park for 18 years and had to relocate to make room for new development. We appreciate the city staff efforts during the CUP process and agree with the conditions of approval as submitted. Our team is available for questions. Thank you.
Does the commission have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Benninger.
No, I don't have any direct questions, but just want to thank you for the work that you do. Anything that helps our teens, and the saddest thing of all is having a teen's funeral due to suicide. And so I hope you guys are preventing those.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Scamilla.
Yeah, just I guess 2 questions. The first one, yeah, if you could just tell us a little bit about your services and what you provide, and what you would do out there. I guess we'll start with that one, and I'll try to remember my second question by the time that's
Sure,
answered.
absolutely. So we provide services across the county. We have 5 outpatient clinics that serve over 4,700 children and family members annually. So specifically at our Santa Ana location, we serve 600 clients per month with 50 staff and student interns serving these families. And this also includes our specialty program, Strong Families, Strong Children, where we serve veterans and their family members. Services are provided in office and since COVID also via telehealth. Referrals come primarily through word of mouth, self-referral, schools, pediatricians, community partners, hospitals, the county healthcare agency, social services, and others. We also participate in outreach and engagement events and fairs.
All right, and I did remember question number 2.
Okay.
So yeah, being an operator here in the city for so long, obviously this new CEP process only came about within the last 2 years or so. I'm just wondering how you personally experienced like having to go through a CEP process, and whether or not that posed any challenge for your organization. Just again, meeting day-to-day operations, being even able to potentially move or operate. Like, were there any kind of moments of more extreme duress for your organization having to go through this additional process?
Well, we have been, as from what I know, I've been with the organization for over 35 years. We've had 4 moves during that time, so we tend to locate and stay where we are because it's tremendous hardship moving, right? So this was surprising for us. We hadn't been aware of this new process. So once we were made aware, we got our great team of consultants and such to support us with this. But it has taken an amount of time. The city staff were very helpful to us, but it caused some stress, I can say, just going through the process and really understanding it. Because as I said, we've been long-term Santa Ana providers, right? So.
I appreciate that, and that's all the questions I have.
Thank you.
Commissioner Leo,
No questions.
Vice Chair Ramos.
Yes, I have a few questions also just to further understand the services you provide and what that looks like. And I had also raised these to Pam during my phone call, but I know the first thing I noticed when I looked at the location was your proximity to Latino Health Access, another provider. So I'm just curious about what, if any, relationship or opportunities for collaboration there might be. And then my second question is, how, if at all, do you plan to adapt to the current political climate to ensure that you're able to continue to provide your services? Just knowing the demographic of Santana, and a lot of families are of mixed status, and folks are afraid to go out and seek or continue services that they've been receiving. So those are just my 2 questions to kind of understand what you're doing in that model.
Absolutely. Thank you for the questions. So our new location is right around the corner from Latino Health Access, which is another long-term provider in the Santa Ana community. My understanding in terms of the differences, they do more primary health care, case management services, and provide, resources like the food and diaper distributions. Our mission, and I didn't fully answer that question previously, our mission is around mental health. So we provide crisis intervention, individual, family, group treatment, case management, all primarily focused around mental health. We do cross-refer with Latino Health Access, and we also have done presentations to their staff as well as trainings. And in addition to we really work to reduce the mental health stigma and help people become more comfortable with asking for help. So we do training to other organizations. So for example, with Latino Health Access, we did mental health first aid. We talked about depression and anxiety in children, self-care, social media. So we have a number of trainings that we do. So we anticipate even working more closely with them since we are, neighbors at this point. So that kind of answer your questions with that.
Yeah, the first one, thank you.
In terms of, protections for our families, and that is something that we are very aware of with what is going on in overall across the country and in our communities. So we have put protections in place. In our organization, we do not ask for documentation status and/or indicate that in their electronic health records. We've provided all staff training about what to do should we have ICE agents show up at our clinics. We have signs in our waiting room about that states this is a private space for client care. and remind clients that their health information is protected by HIPAA and would not be released without a signed court warrant. We have resources available to families so they can understand their rights, and we also offer telehealth. Post-COVID, we offer telehealth now, which is a great option for those. It might make their families feel a little bit more comfortable. In terms of my role as CEO, I'm very involved. I was up in Sacramento last week trying to understand, the climate and how that may impact our organizations and our families, at least federal implications, state implications, and we're also in a number of alliances so that we can keep current with understanding how we can best support our family.
Thank you for your thorough responses. I'm happy to hear that you're all proactively thinking and taking measures today to protect families. So thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Commissioner Pham,
No questions. Thank you.
Commissioner Wu.
So you call.
Hi.
Yeah, it's been a while.
You look familiar.
Yeah,
I think
and I did not return the call, so it's,
I didn't call him, sorry.
oh, when you,
Pedo called, but
I appreciate it. As a director planning for United Way for many years and as one of my program directors in a community action partnership with part of the coalition, Children and Family, Child Guidance Center is a central role in that system. And for the commissioners that do not operate, social services, they may not appreciate, because we think social services are all the same. You have county services and you have these private clinical services. You might want to explain what a key role Child Guidance Center play in Orange County, particularly between the hospital, the county, and with low-income families, which most of our people on this commission is concerned about in Santa Ana. Number two, finding a location for a nonprofit is often very hard to meet your client needs, your staff need, room and all that, and having to move. I had to move 100,000 square foot facility. It's not a lot that is affordable in the area. So you might want to just explain those kind of challenges so that we become aware that this is just not an overnight thing. There are things in our general plan that's new that cause the move. And if you did not exist, I think one of those questions that we usually ask as a United Way task force, what do we do? Do we have to create it? So.
thank you for the questions. So to start with your first question, yes, we are a community provider and a nonprofit provider of essential and critical mental health services. And we've grown, our budget has grown. We've been able to secure not only government funding, but foundation funding and others to increase our reach across the entire county. So we have sites that reach all corners of Orange County. And as a nonprofit provider, some of our grants are under healthcare agency or have been under social services. But we provide those services in a very efficient and effective manner. We have high levels of training, evidence-based practices that we provide, and we look at those gaps and needs in the community. And, for example, with teens and post-COVID, we've had increases, was mentioned with suicide, anxiety, depression, and the need has gone through the roof. And, as I mentioned, I've as licensed clinical social worker, I was a clinician for many, many years. I've never seen the need at this high of a level. So our community providers are important because we do the outreach engagement with schools, hospitals, community partners, and we are at school fairs and we're out in the community and really decreasing the stigma and helping families to see you just need to ask for help. And I've seen it just skyrocket. So I'm not sure if that fully answered your first question or.
Yes, because data will show that our communities are becoming increasingly traumatized from a variety of different sources, including social media and just the pressure of the economic status of our community resident, and I just wanted the commission to appreciate that it is difficult providing a service in that kind of climate when the needs is outgrowing the ability of capacity of an organization to serve it. But since you're a key factor in all the coalition network and system, it is essential that we stabilize the operation so that we could provide services to the community. Just wanted to make sure you had an opportunity to relate that.
We do a lot of collaboration with other providers and organizations, public and private. So that really helps increase our reach and get the word out about families. When they need help, they can come and ask for help and get that. To
Thank
your
you.
second point, in terms of what it takes to move, as I mentioned, I've been over 35 years. I know of 4 moves, but we've had 3. Just because the ability to get large enough space, and as I mentioned, our budget has expanded. We've been able to increase our reach. We've even been able to increase our staff, our training program for students so that we can meet the need and have greater access for our community. It is no small feat to find the right location. So we looked for over a year when we were told that our other space was going to be developed. And so we looked for a year. And we're very pleased to be kind of down in the middle of downtown Santa Ana, where families can still walk to us. We've got organizations we can meet with the county. It's a great location. And my first job with Child Guidance Center was on First Street, right next to the DMV, where there's now housing. And I worked there for many years before our next move. But we have a real heart for Santa Ana. We appreciate the support we've received. And as we said, we feel like we found a new home here right across the street. And so it does take a lot. When we close down one operation on a Friday, we've got to be ready to open up Monday morning at 8 a.m. to see families and to continue our missions work.
Thank you for your thorough answer. I have no questions. Commissioners, any additional questions? You may take a seat. Thank you so much. Recording Secretary, have we received any written communication, or is there a member of the public that would like to comment on this item?
Chair, we have not received any public comment and via email. If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon to indicate that you would like to speak. If you're calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial 6 and then please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. Chair, we do not have any speakers.
Thank you. With that, the public hearing is now closed. Is there a motion to approve this matter?
I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to recommend the adoption of resolution approving conditional use permit number 2025-04 as condition.
I have a motion by Commissioner Wu, and I have a second by
Yeah,
Commissioner
a second with comment, if I may, Chair. I just wanted to, I guess, just bring this up for the rest of the commission. I think that obviously we have a CUP in front of us that seems to make a lot of sense. My general concern is more with the moratorium and kind of how we got here to this point. I know the rationale and kind of reason for why we go through a CUP process for this particular type of service set. But I do think that we might have cast too wide of a net with the initial language, where I think the initial conditions that brought this about was mental health services being provided immediately next to a single family home in a neighborhood without parking. And but the way that we applied it like a blanket application to all professional zoning, I think that was something that actually creates more work for the people that are trying to provide services in our community. And in fact, it could be a reason why people might not come in to Santa Ana to provide these types of services, or just can't go through a CUP process. Not everyone has a Pam Cepeda with them. So again, just kind of more holistically, just a little worried as far as the requirement for a CUP for this type of project. So that's more just the overall comment for staff, but then from there, just moving to support Mr. Wu's motion.
Do we
Does
have a
sta-
second?
Does staff have comment on that, or we're good? Perfect. So I have a motion by Commissioner Wu and a second by Commissioner Scamilla. Secretary, please call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Benninger,
Aye.
Commissioner Scamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Pham,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair Ramos,
I would also like to uplift Commissioner Scamia's comment.
Chair Oliva.
Aye.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
We're going into item 3. This is a time and place for conditional use permit number 2025-02 for the property located at 1623 West 17th Street, located within the General Commercial Zoning District. Before we begin, do any commissioners have anything they wish to disclose with regard to this item? Seeing none, Pedro Gomez will provide a brief presentation.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good evening, fellow commissioners. The next item is a request for an approval to allow the sale of beer, wine, and distilled spirits for off-premises consumption through the operation of a Type 21 ABC license at a newly proposed grocery store, and to authorize staff to issue a letter of public convenience or necessity, or a PCN, to the State Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control, or ABC. The project site is approximately 4.275 acres in size, and it's currently developed with 2 separate clusters of multi-tenant commercial buildings and a surface parking lot. It has a general plan designation of general commercial, or GC, and a zoning designation of general commercial, or C2. It's surrounded by professional and medical offices to the north, a commercial shopping center to the east, Santa Ana College to the south, and professional offices to the west. And then just for background, the site was developed in the 1950s. It was occupied by child welfare offices in the 1970s and the 1980s. In 1994, Northgate Gonzalez Market began occupying the site. That same year, Northgate Market received approval of a CUP for a Type 20 ABC license to allow the off-premise sale of beer and wine. In 2015, Northgate received approval of CUP number 2015-04 to upgrade to a Type 21 ABC license to sell distilled spirits for off-premises consumption, in addition to its existing beer and wine sales. Northgate remained in operations at the location until the end of 2022, and the tenant space has remained vacant since then. Northgate transferred their Type 21 ABC license to their new location at 2603 West Westminster Avenue. And soon after the site became vacant, the city's economic development team began assisting with marketing of the site, considering that the tenant space of this size can be difficult to tenant. Once Olay City Market was identified as a prospective tenant, both the city's economic development team and the planning and building agency team came together to assist Olay City Market in the prospective tenanting of the site, including the required entitlements and the build-out process. Olay City Market has 4 locations in Los Angeles County. Their origins trace back to 1998 with the establishment of Villa Market in Long Beach. They are dedicated to providing competitively priced, high-quality goods in a convenient and welcoming shopping environment. They do offer fresh produce, meats, seafood, deli items, frozen foods, groceries, beverages, and selection of beer and wine. And so the next couple of slides are going to provide an overview of the site photos, the site plan, the floor plan, and conceptual elevations for the site. So the first slide shows the existing photos. So this is a commercial building facing 17th Street, or what would be the south elevation. This next slide shows the existing site plan. You can see that there's those 2 clusters of commercial tenant spaces identified. The grocery store is identified as this area here, with the site adjacent to it currently vacant. And then the site adjacent to it on the east end made up of smaller tenant spaces. This is the proposed floor plan. The space proposed is approximately 11,861 square feet in size. The applicant is proposing interior renovations that include demolition of existing interior walls, furnishing, fixtures, and the construction of new partition walls, ADA restrooms, new paint flooring, electrical, plumbing, and mechanical. And the improvements would include displays for the fresh produce, meats, and seafood as previously identified. As shown on the floor plan, the total alcohol storage area is limited to 184 square feet of the gross floor area, or about 1.55%. This includes a 154 square foot beer and wine cooler area and a 30 square foot liquor cabinet. And those areas have been identified on this floor plan in red. Here we have conceptual renderings proposed. So separate from the interior work that's being proposed for Ole City Market, the site property owner is also proposing an extensive exterior remodel and various site improvements to include resurfacing of the parking lot, new parking lot striping, and improvements to lighting, landscaping, and the signage. The exterior remodel would be limited to the cluster of buildings closest to 17th Street or the south end of the property. And then the preliminary renderings shown here highlight the removal of the dated design from the 1950s, including the round arches, the awnings, the mismatched roof parapets, including the mission style inspired roof parapet. Again, please note that the proposed exterior work is conceptual at this time and is not subject to the Planning Commission's review, but the applicant and the property owner have identified that this is the next steps in the process of making the grocery store happen at this location. Staff reviewed the applicant's request and has determined that the sale of alcoholic beverages for on-premises consumption at the subject location will not be detrimental to the health, safety, or welfare of the community. Pursuant to the Santa Ana Municipal Code, the subject site is exempt from the separation requirements for off-sale establishments, as the subject tenant space is over 10,000 square feet in size. And then also, given the size, it's also not subject to the maximum alcohol storage display area of 5%. Although not subject to that requirement, the applicant is proposing less than 2%, as previously described. The site will be in compliance with all standards of the Santa Ana Municipal Code for the off-premises sale of alcoholic beverages, which can be found in the resolution of approval attached to the Planning Commission's packet. These operational standards will mitigate potential impacts on the adjacent uses and ensure the use does not become a nuisance to the community. The proposed use will provide an ancillary service to Ole City Market customers by allowing them the ability to purchase a wider variety of alcoholic beverages in conjunction with groceries. In addition, it would allow the market to remain economically viable and compete with nearby stores offering the same type of services, and it would allow the market to better serve the community by providing an added convenience and a one-stop shopping experience. The subject site is consistent with the goals and objectives found in the land use element of the general plan. And the police department is satisfied with the operational standards and conditions of approval, as they will mitigate any potential impacts to the surrounding community and does not oppose to the granting of the CUP. Lastly, the conditions of approval, the property maintenance agreement, and the standards in the Santa Ana Municipal Code will address any potential negative impacts. So as far as the public convenience or necessity, or the PCN, PCN requests are governed by Section 41-645.5 of the Municipal Code and Section 23958.4 of the Business and Professional Code. A PCN determination is required for the project because Ole City Market is proposed to be located in Census Tract number 753.02. where the ratio of existing retail off-premises alcohol licenses to the population in the census tract exceeds the ratio of the retail off-premises alcohol license to population in the county, resulting in an overconcentration as determined by the state, or ABC. Specifically, ABC allows a maximum of 2 off-premises locations for census tract 753.02, and there's currently 4 active ABC licenses per the table on that slide. The next image will show kind of where those are located, and the map has been included as part of Exhibit 5 for the Planning Commission's packet as well. So they include Parks Dairy, Target, Smart and Final, and CVS, 3 of those located in the same shopping center. So you can see those on this location where the star annotates the proposed Ole City Market. We have Target, CVS, and Smart and Final on the adjacent shopping center. Ole City Market will mitigate any potential detrimental effects, should any arise, by enforcing policies, protocols, and alcohol-related training initiatives. The proposed sale of alcoholic beverages would improve the overall functions of the business by enhancing the complete grocery store experience for customers. Therefore, staff recommends that the Planning Commission grant a determination of PCN and authorize city staff, or excuse me, staff to issue a letter of PCN to ABC. In accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act, or CEQA, the project is categorically exempt from further review pursuant to Section 15301 or Class 1. A notice of exemption environmental review number 2025-03 will be filed for this project, and there's no fiscal impact associated with this action. With that, staff recommends that the Planning Commission adopt a resolution approving conditional use permit number 2025-02 as conditioned, and authorize staff to issue a letter of PCN to the State Department of Alcoholic Beverage Control. That concludes staff's presentation. I don't see, just for the record, I don't see our project applicant in attendance today, and it doesn't sound like they're in the Zoom meeting as well, which is a surprise to me, so thank you.
Thank you. Does the commission have any comments or questions for staff? Commissioner Benninger.
Yes, I didn't see operating hours. What are the proposed operating hours?
And the staff report outlines the hours of operation Monday through Sunday from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
And basically, this is the same type of license that Northgate had when they were in this location.
That's correct. The original one was for beer and wine, and in 2015, they got approval for beer, wine, and distilled spirits.
Okay. And there are no other restaurants in the census tract that sells beer and alcohol also?
Restaurants?
Restaurants.
Well, right behind them is a kind of a restaurant type of banquet facility that does serve alcohol as well. It's technically the same property. It's the Hacienda, I believe. Mm-hmm. And it's this space here, Hacienda Restaurant. But in the immediate vicinity, I'd have to take a look, since those would be considered on sale, a different ABC license type.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Commissioner Scamilla.
And Commissioner Leo over here reminded me of the Super Antojitos is the other one that probably has
yes.
on premise, which is delicious, and I haven't been if they're still there, but I haven't been going to SAC as much. Sorry, the question I have, Pedro, just wondering the comparable square footage from the previous license. Do we have the number from what Northgate had previously been approved for and kind of where we're at now?
In terms of the alcohol display or just the grow? Okay, I
Yeah.
don't have that number, but they likely would have been exempt from that requirement because the square footage of the space is not changing. This is the identical square footage that Northgate proposed or occupied. And so they'd be exempt from having any minimum essentially. But yeah, I wouldn't be able to tell you the exact number.
Okay, yeah, just trying to figure out if we're adding technically any square footage or not, even if it's the same type. It seems like it's probably comparable. I just don't know. I don't remember the layout from the old Northgate.
From what I understand of typical displays for like beer and wine and stuff that's locked up in a cabinet, it seems comparable, but it's probably just because the size is over 10,000. And so the 2%, it's just comparable to probably what you would expect for a grocery store that size. But again, there's no new square footage for the grocery store itself, just maybe likely a difference in the display area.
Okay, and I'm wondering if we can go back to the overall site plan. So I just had an overall question. If there was going to be any requirement for loading and unloading improvements. So I know that it gets a little crazy back there with the rear loading area. So I'm not sure exactly. If that,
Yeah, I was going to show this just to give you a context a little bit, but I guess maybe the site plan is working a little bit better. As part of the overall improvements, there is going to be a look at the parking, the loading, the trash enclosure. It's just not part necessarily of today's approval, But yes, the city staff is committed to ensuring that the site is brought up into conformance as much as possible, as the site currently is technically considered non-conforming.
Yeah, because I'm saying like, I think it's a overall lack of trees and probably some striping. or something.
Landscaping,
Yeah.
yes, exactly.
Okay.
So part of the conditions of approval kind of address that, making sure that the lighting is brought up to kind of what's appropriate, resurfacing of the parking, restriping, landscaping to the best of their ability. So yes, staff will be looking at that as well.
Okay, and not part of the CUP discussion right now, but since you brought up the renderings and the applicant's not here, definitely I just would like them to take a look at those renderings or the design choices again. I think I would rather have a mismatch of Hacienda, Spanish Revival, even if it's Neo Spanish Revival, than this that I'm looking at right now. Yeah, just during the review. Yeah.
Sure. Thank you.
Commissioner Leo,
No questions.
Vice Chair Ramos.
Yes, I have a question. I think Commissioner Escamilla touched on it a bit too. So in the staff report, it states that the issuance of the CUP approval would be subject to completion of all proposed construction work. And then the next sentence talks about staff's additional recommendations, which include parking improvements. Sorry, so this is page 2 of the staff report, the paragraph right above table 1. So my question is exactly what is the process looking like here? It seems like it's going to be a bit sequenced. So if the applicant gets the CUP approval, is then staff kind of holding that back until they do everything else?
Effectively, yes. The need for getting in front of the Planning Commission is based on the applicant being in escrow for the ABC license. So, there's not a lot of kind of assurances when you apply for an ABC license. So, ABC requires a conditional use permit for issuance of that, and we require the work to be done. So, effectively, they can't operate essentially the sales of it without their TI build out, without the exterior work that they're doing. So the resolution being signed and approved won't really mean anything because they won't have a site to sell alcohol at. So effectively, what we're trying to do is kind of give them the assurances that they need to, so they can close their escrow, obtain their ABC license with the state, and then they would move forward concurrently with the build out that they're planning to do. It's a major investment, and I'm not sure the terms of the leasing agreement with the property owner, but it's all part of kind of that behind the scenes stuff that happens that doesn't involve the city.
Okay, and then I didn't catch them, but where are these conditions of approval in the resolution? Like, where does it state that the CUP approval is, like, if granted, it is conditional to them doing everything else?
I'm taking a look at the conditions of approval now, and it'd be under Exhibit A, not B. B would be the operational standards. So Exhibit A shows, let's see. Let's see. I'm sorry, Commissioner, there should be some information on here regarding kind of light standards, parking, restriping.
Yes, I saw that in the staff report, but I
Yeah.
didn't see it in the resolution. So I want to make sure that if we're saying that's what it would be, that it's there.
Yeah. What the purpose of including it in the conditions of approval was essentially to kind of memorialize the work that was required for them to do anyways. So I'm sorry that's not included on here. But if it's not, the work is still required as part of your municipal code improvements. The site, as mentioned earlier, is considered non-conforming, meaning it doesn't meet any of your standards, well, some of the standards for C2. But as a requirement for approving a design like this for a build-out TI, the site has to be brought closer to conformance, meaning landscaping has to be addressed, parking has to be addressed, the light standards have to be addressed, trash enclosure. So it's a requirement that they have to do anyways. It would have been my preference to keep it as part of the conditional use permit, but effectively we get to the same point.
Okay, so that's something we can add as a commission.
You can, if I don't know what version got uploaded, but if I can maybe find what my initial comments were, I can maybe read them to you, and if you agree to them, you can read them into the conditions of approval. Yeah.
Thank you. And then another question I have, so I know we received some public comment from residents that live in the neighboring neighborhoods. And there were just some concerns about the lack or level of community engagement. So I know the applicant's not here, so we can't speak to them directly. But what is required, what are city requirements on community engagement for projects like this?
I'm holding the comment that was received for the project, and I don't really see any mention of concern about the lack of engagement. But so
Sorry, that was expressed to me by my council member who received direct communication from a resident in her ward.
that helps clarify your comment. Thank you so much. So the required public hearings is 1,000 feet of the project site. So that includes all properties within 1,000 feet of the property, not the tenant space. So within 1,000 feet, whatever that radius ends up falling, those people would be notified of a mailer, essentially. And then as part of the PCN, there's a requirement for the property owner to engage with the community as well. So as far as I know, the property owners should have sent out notices with flyers indicating that this is who they are, their new grocery store. And then there was a general info at Ole City Market and a phone number provided if there's any questions or concerns from the community who can reach out. And then in addition to that, staff contacted a few neighborhood leaders with this information as well, and expressed that while we cannot send the mailers to everyone in every neighborhood because they're outside of the 1,000 feet, through contacting them, our hope was that they would help spread the word and connect them with the appropriate sort of agenda and connecting us with us and the Ole City Market people. So I feel like we, the city staff and then the Ole City Market folks have provided the appropriate amount of community outreach for this.
Thank you. And then just an additional question on that. How much, I guess, what does that additional outreach look like that the staff did? So I'm happy to hear that staff did some additional outreach beyond what the applicant did, knowing that 1,000 feet doesn't always include everyone. So what does that outreach look like? How early does it happen? What was feedback, if any, that was received?
So it would help to understand maybe if there was a specific concern, because the information I provided was the additional outreach that we've done. So normally it's the mailers that go out and then maybe notification to the neighborhood leaders with that same mailer. But the difference in this case was myself, staff reached out directly to the neighborhood leaders, informing them of the project and informing them of where they can find the agenda, and that they could forward my contact information and the agenda itself to anyone who might be interested. And that included folks who sat outside of the 1,000-foot radius who might not have received the public notice. So in addition to that, is there anything else that you're looking for?
Yeah, so thank you for that information. What was shared with me and the way I understood it was that some folks in the neighborhood wish they would have heard about the project sooner. I don't know what, if any, specific concerns they may have, but I think that was a general one, that they felt like they heard about this a bit late. I can't speak beyond that because I didn't speak to anyone directly, so I'm not sure. And I know some folks are in the audience tonight. Maybe if they have any thoughts, they can express them during the public hearing. That was just what I generally heard, so I just wanted to ask some clarifying questions for the record.
Thank you, Commissioner. And just to add, as the commission might know, this department is unique in that we have 4 in-house community planners whose job is to make sure that our constituents, both small business owners, hard to reach populations, regular populations, everyone is aware of the work that we do. And so our neighborhood initiative staff is routinely aware of projects such as this and anything else that's ultimately going to come before the commission. And they often are able to successfully connect that information to neighborhood leaders who may reside outside of the boundaries of notification, but still for the purpose of like social networking and social capital building, sort of empower them to have that knowledge and share it with their residents as well. So that's another way that the department goes above and beyond any sort of, even the city's municipal code is already way above what the state requires. I think a lot of us know that, but then our planning department's practices go even above what our municipal code requires by doing what I just described. So while obviously we know it's impossible to reach every single constituent on every single case, I think, confidently I can share that the practices just are meant to make sure that as many people can have access to the information as possible.
Thank you,
And-
and thank you for sharing.
Sure. Really
Yes.
quick, Madam Vice Chair, just to address your concern, for the record as well, the additional notification to the neighborhood leaders was on February 28th, so within that 10-day sort of legal notice requirement as well.
Thank you. Thank you for the update and for also sharing in greater detail what this looks like in practice in the city of Santa Ana. So I've been following things for a long time. Before, the noticing requirement was only 500 feet, which was not great. I know it's since been increased to 1,000, and we now have community planners that we didn't before. At least their job wasn't what it is now. So I appreciate the efforts, and, we'll see what feedback, if any, there is and where there's room for improvement. I appreciate that you're all also open to that. But that was my only question beyond, when we get to deciding whether we're going to approve this or not. I would like to see the additional condition stating that, just reemphasizing what the staff report says. And happy to hear that there may be specific language that staff can propose on that as well when we get there. I don't need to hear it. Thank you.
Commissioner Pham.
Thank you, Chair. For my clarification, I was under the impression that the ABC license is tied to a property and not a tenant. Is that not the case?
ABC licenses, Commissioner, thanks for the question. ABC licenses are property of the entity that owns them. Conditional use permits run with the land. So in this case, when Northgate moved to its new location farther down the street, they took their license with them because they own it. But you can't operate that license until you have a conditional use permit. In this case, because the site was vacant for so long, it needs a new CUP, which is why the request is before you tonight.
Okay. So technically, if the operator had a ABC license that they transferred to the site, they would still require the state-wise, they would be in conformance, but city-wise, they would still need a CUP to operate that ABC license.
Correct.
And Commissioner, if I may, thank you for allowing me the time to look through the resolution one more time. Those conditions did not get lost. They got included as part of the property maintenance agreement that's required for these types of conditional use permits. And that's condition number 7. So amongst A through, let's see, actually, I'm sorry. It is condition number 7, not part of the property maintenance agreement, but that has been included on there, I think. Is that correct? Yeah.
Right, you're saying the property maintenance agreement should be one of the attachments available online?
No, I'm sorry. The separate item that we discussed about improvements to the site is separate from the property maintenance agreement, but it's condition number 7 as part of Exhibit A that I was referring to, which required new trash enclosure, replacing dead or missing landscaping, existing parking lot to be resurfaced and repaired. So that's that condition number 7, A through G, A through G, are all the extra conditions that we identified as part of their improvements moving forward with the submittal into building plan check.
So for any commissioners following along digitally, that would be page 105 out of 486 in your packet. And that entire page is essentially condition number 7 that the case planner is pointing out.
Sorry, can you tell us what that attachment is? Attachment from the attachments online.
It'll be exhibit number 1. Is that what you're referring to?
Yes.
And then let me open up exhibit number 1 and I'll let you know what page that is so you can find it a little bit better.
Exhibit number 1, the resolution.
Yeah, so exhibit number 1, and we're going to look at PDF page, PDF page 11.
Okay. So within 90 days. Okay, thank you. Sorry, just one more question on the parking. That parking lot has always been kind of weird. Are you just requiring repaving and restriping, or will staff be able to recommend other design modifications that may just improve the experience there?
Yeah, I'm almost sad I didn't capture it, but So short answer is we will be able to improve as necessary. One of the main reasons is because if you've been in the site, there's parking that's right adjacent to the driveway approach. It's very dangerous. So in conversations like that, we've identified that that's a need for us to replace the parking. Part of the challenge is making sure that the site is adequately parked. Now, there's some new state laws that allow flexibility with that, that don't require like a minor exception. So we'll have to identify whether this falls within an eligible area, and if not, identify that they're within the required parking for all of these units that have been identified, not just a grocery store. Because it's an integrated site, the entire site has to be parked appropriately. So we'll be looking at those safety concerns and anywhere where it makes sense to kind of readjust parking as well.
Commissioner Pham. Commissioner Wu.
For the record, I live 5,248 or so feet from the property, and we did not get a notice. However, residents of the Riverview area that walk by my house as they're walking down the dog have mentioned it, and they kind of went, eh, okay. And then the Artesia Pilar neighborhood across the 17th Street also know about the project, and they kind of went, eh. And so that's the community input that I know of, and you know, it's just another store. My question relates to the limitation of two, what is it? The designation for the number of 21 or license versus 20, and we already gave 3. I think I was on the commission when we approved the Target one, okay, and we went through that controversy with knowing that there was Smart & Final there in the CVS. CVS, I don't know how long they're going to stay there because no one goes there. So, you know, I think when we previously talked about liquor dispensing places, I have always mentioned that I thought we had a lot, you know, like every taco stand on every corner and liquor store, and, you know, and I think the remark coming from our executive director was, well, we have a happy community. So, you know, and that there was really no reasonable reason for not denying those permits at the time. So I don't know where that's at, you know. I have a particular grocery need, and that market isn't in this neighborhood anyway, or city. Bye.
I have no questions for staff. Since the applicant isn't here, we're going to jump over to recording secretary. Have we received any written communication, or is there a member of the public that would like to comment on this item?
Chair, we have received a total of 2 emails in the form of public comment for this item before the 3:30 deadline, which has been distributed to the commission and posted online. If you're attending this meeting in person and would like to comment on this item, please fill out a request to speak form and turn it into the secretary. If you're participating via Zoom and would like to comment on this item, please select the hand icon to indicate that you would like to speak. If you're calling in and would like to comment on this item, please dial 9 and then 6 to unmute yourself. We have 2 in-person speakers.
I call forward Ana Gallardo.
Waiting for the time to start. Hi, good evening. My name is Ana Gallardo. I lived in Riverview Neighborhood Association since I was 40 years old. And I'm just here as part of also the board of Riverview. I've been a vice president for there too. So we really try to beautify our neighborhood. We have an upcoming cleanup day this Saturday. We have community events. We encourage the community to communicate with each other. We promote the My Santa Ana app. We do quarterly meetings. I mean, we attempt to communicate with every part of the city, whether it's code enforcement or the the Republic or the Santa Ana PD. We really try to communicate with the city as much as possible. However, we feel some sort of way adding another store with another liquor store, another liquor license in our neighborhood. I believe everybody has the questions that we submitted on behalf of the Riverview Neighborhood Association, and I'm just going to read them out. Was the planning and building division process, what was the planning and building division process to determine what business would replace the previous tenant? And also, question number 2, how does a discount grocery store align with the general plan? Question number 3, how long has the application been in process and who at the city is involved in the renew, and when was it conducted by all? And number 4, we gathered some information from the ABC control, and they confirmed that the application was submitted in January, and the police department review was conducted in January as well. But to continue with my questions, was a crime statistics report requested by planning staff? Is there an over-concentrated of liquor license in our area? And how is the over-concentrated determined? And for the record, the Riverview Neighborhood Association did not state it had no concerns and did not lend support to this project. My dad lives on 18th Street and put a little book, take a book, leave a book, and it's constantly vandalized. We're even putting a lock in it, constantly vandalized. So we are attempting every which way to beautify our neighborhood, and personally, we don't think another grocery store with a liquor license is going to assist us with the unhoused people that we continue to have that destroy property from our Riverview neighborhood. And I had a lot more to say, but I'm running out of time. Thank you all.
Thank you. I call forward Marta Molina.
Thank you. Good evening, commissioners. Very happy to see familiar faces here. And so, yeah, I mean, basically our concern is that ABC only allows 2 liquor licenses in that census tract. And so we've already had over concentration, so we have the 4, and then we're going to add an additional 1. We're also very disappointed in that, we had asked staff before in quarterly meetings that we have, our committee meetings, we wanted to know what the plans were for that property, and we just never heard back. And so it's like, what is the thinking? I was driving on Main Street from, Irvine into Santa Ana, and, it's like such a clear demarcation, sadly. Beautiful high rise, beautiful landscape and all, and then boom, you hit the auto repair, the motels, right on Main, which is really sad. We did communicate. I want to clarify the communication that we had with staff. Yes, staff did send me an email on February 28th. And then on March 4th, we asked if there could be a mailer sent to the whole neighborhood, at which time they said no, they couldn't do that, and that we could reach out to the owner of the market for any concerns. And then the onus was placed on us, basically, to notify everybody else. Some people got letters, like Anna on Forest Avenue. She got a notification of this meeting and another letter from the market, but I didn't. I'm on Tammy Lane, 1 block over. So it was like a haphazard kind of notification to neighbors. And so the other thing that I'm concerned about is that, we have the county building that's going to be vacated right next door. So we want to just see a bigger picture, and I've never been here. I'm just so impressed by all of you. Of course, I always have been, but I'm so impressed at how conscientious you all are on all these issues and really taking, these issues and really, I can tell you all do your homework. But looking at, what is the bigger picture there, right? We thought maybe Santa Ana College wanted to build housing for students. So how is it that we could look at that? I know this seems like it's a done deal. Obviously, the owners aren't here because they figured it was going to, I shouldn't say that. Maybe something happened. But I'm very disappointed that we're not able to meet them or that they're not able to respond to our questions here. So we would ask that you not approve anything today. Allow us, to get some answers to our questions. And yeah, I don't trust the fact that if you give them the CUP, they're going to do everything they're supposed to. I really don't. You know, it's like I don't count my chickens before they hatch. So, really happy, you know, glad that we could come and speak before you. Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the commission have any additional comments or questions? Commissioner Benninger?
First of all, I appreciate you being here tonight, especially being part of our neighborhood associations. Thank you for being here. She brings up a very good point, and maybe I'm going to float this in front of our commission. We can always press on with this, delay a vote on this today. And I guess I like to ask for a continuance since we don't have the owners here to ask questions of. And so I'm going to say at least to the next meeting. I
I'm
need a
so
second on
sorry, I
that.
forgot. I did not close the public hearing, so the public hearing is not closed. So so Commissioner Benninger, your motion is to
Continue.
continue the conversation for the next meeting.
Yeah, I'll second that as well, but feeling the same rationale.
A second from Commissioner Benninger to continue the conversation.
Could I clarify? I'm so sorry to interrupt, but you could continue the public hearing. That way, if there are others who want to speak at that time and also the applicant, they can speak at that time. So technically, if you'd like to make a motion, it's a motion to continue the public hearing to the next meeting, which I think is
March 24th, yeah.
Then I will change my motion to continue the open.
So essentially, you've reopened it by
So-
unanimous consent and you're continuing the public hearing to March
Continuing
20th.
public hearing.
If we're going to continue it, I'm not in favor because if you didn't come and you apply for it, then that's on you. You know, any business person would do it and you take whoever folks want. But one thing I'd like is my neighbors have asked, about the number of 21 licenses in the area. And I think that I like an answer if we're going to continue it. Would the applicant be willing not to apply for that and just be able to sell beer and that, but not to still liquor, to continue to occupy that space, and then get approval?
If
Because
we
they-
continue, you can ask them that
Yeah.
question, and if they choose not to show. I think that if we continue, you can ask them that question. And then if they continue not to show at the next meeting, that's going to send a very strong message to this commission.
Point of clarification, has there been an updated motion in a second?
I was going to update it right now.
Yeah.
So the updated motion is to continue the public hearing to the March 24th meeting so that we can speak to the applicant and also allow for additional public comment. Do I have a motion?
And I'm asking, since you're continuing, could we find out some more information so that we'll know by the next meeting?
I think we can ask the
Yeah.
applicant the additional questions and we'll
Yeah.
get additional clarification.
Sure, can
So-
I,
Yes,
add a
Commissioner
general
Pham.
comment? I wanted to let staff, or if staff wanted to clarify, does staff need more additional outreach, or are you satisfied with the current outreach and the neighbors who have showed up today? Your responsibility would be to make sure that your neighborhood association and your fellow neighbors are adequately informed so that when we do have, when we do continue this hearing, that, there's adequate information from both ends that are presented here next time. Because it seems like the general public comments that there's not been adequate outreach. I just want to make sure to clarify that we're satisfied with the outreach and that we're just giving the operator an opportunity to present their case or to respond in the next meeting.
I will
You have
share.
residents that are closest there. You have the vice president of the Riverview Neighborhood Association here today representing. It's not that the neighborhood didn't show up, they did, okay? I'm on the other end, farther away.
If I
on
can,
Pacific,
if I
so-
can clarify, I believe staff did let us know that they did do their due diligence for reaching out to the community. It was the applicant that probably didn't do their part to do more outreach. Are we still at a point where we can ask the applicant that, or are we done with that portion of the?
I do want to break down some of the points that have been brought up. So I appreciate having an ambitious commission, but let's go one by one. So on the outreach, in your packets, you have a map of the radius that was notified. And I do want to clarify, just so that everyone knows how the city implements notification. The state requires 300-foot radius of property owners only. The city requires more than 3 times that at 1,000 feet, owners and renters. In addition, obviously, we notify neighborhood presidents that are affected by that. And then I described our neighborhood initiatives process earlier. But I just want to clarify what I shared earlier and what I'm sharing now doesn't mean that everyone in a neighborhood association is notified. If you live within 1,000 feet of the project site boundaries, and in this city, we measure from the outermost boundaries of the site too for maximum application of that law, then you get a notification. But it doesn't necessarily mean that every resident of a neighborhood association gets a notification. So firstly, I would just ask if the commission is going to entertain the motion to continue. I would ask if there is a perception that not enough outreach was done, please give us the direction you would want to go above and beyond that 1,000-foot radius, and whether you want the city staff to do it or the applicant to do it. If the city staff does it, obviously we can do a lot, but it will come at an expense, right? If the applicant does it, it'll have an expense to them, but they might have their own means to PR, door-to-door knocking, et cetera. So that clarity would be very helpful to us. Secondly, in terms of a request to have them come forward and ask, would you be okay if we denied your application, or if we, would you still open, I just want to hone in on these matters. As with any conditional use permit, you're being asked to evaluate whether you believe this location is appropriate for alcohol or not. That's literally the only request for you. So I just want you to manage your expectations. If you're going to invite someone to come in 2 weeks and answer the question, would I open here without alcohol? Remember that your questions have to be relevant to the request at hand. And we've stressed that before, but I don't want that to get lost in this matter. Because asking someone, would you be okay if I deny you? I would imagine you can anticipate what the answer is going to be. So just if there's any specificity as to what you're trying to get out of that question, it helps us go back to the applicant and say, here's what we need to do in the next 2 weeks. That's all. That the sort of clarity and direction would be very helpful.
Hello? Hello?
Hi, thank you. Can you please hold on for just a second? Thank you so much, Acting Director. Madam Chair, it sounds like this whole time there has been representatives for the applicant. Maria and Yvonne are on the Zoom. I don't
Senior
know why.
Planner, are you saying that we have to take the resolution as it is? Which means that the applicant is asking for it with the designation that they requested. So our charge would be to say yes or no to that.
That's right. That is the request that's before you this evening is, can I sell alcohol?
Without modification.
The commission can impose modified conditions. We've recommended a set of conditions to the commission, but the commission, as long as they're relevant and there's a nexus, can amend, add, delete conditions.
So where I err was asking what would happen if this and to communicate that to them before we even actually have it. So we're only dealing with what is on the paper, right?
That's right.
So
The request before
apologize. I
you.
didn't mean to do that. Just know how to ask that. Okay.
Yeah,
thank
we
you.
appreciate that. So I would say it sounds like the applicant is on the line, and it's up to the commission. I know you have a motion and a second on the floor, but I would encourage that for the sake of the integrity of the process that you allow the applicant to speak.
And I would like to make a sub-motion, also okay with us opening the public hearing, but I want to state my sub-motion first, and then the applicant can also hear it, and maybe it needs to be amended after that. But my sub-motion would be for this to be continued. I don't want to add a specific date and say next meeting. I don't know if staff or the applicant and the community might need more time. But my request would be of the applicant to do additional outreach, So, and staff can provide guidance, but to provide additional information to the neighborhood associations at large. And if there are any upcoming meetings, maybe the applicant can be present, or maybe the neighborhood associations can plan a meeting to ensure that any and all questions are answered. Now, at the end, there might not be full agreement, but as long as there's communication and complete information being provided, hopefully that helps. And also, if there are any neighborhood meetings coming up, I'd ask that a community planner be present to explain what the process has been. So I know the applicant can do that, and I hope that they will, but it would also be great to hear from the city what the process has been since Northgate left, to find a tenant and why this tenant is being recommended. So that's a submotion that I'm making for us to consider after the public hearing is reopened.
The
Thank
public
you, and
hearing was
that's
reopened earlier, just to clarify.
Oh, we didn't close it?
I have not closed, I closed it
sorry.
and reopened it. Mhm.
I
Just to
do
be-
want to go. Sorry.
Sorry, just to be clear for the record and to be consistent with the bylaws that I have been reviewing, we should just go ahead and take a vote to reopen the public hearing.
A full vote, so,
Yeah,
okay.
go ahead and take a
Okay.
vote, just to make it nice and clear.
And
Point of
Chair-
order, did you have a comment on my submotion?
Yeah, thank you. Before we reopen the public hearing, Vice Chair, thank you very much for that sort of clarity. I do want to just make sure for the record it's clear. Staff's not recommending a tenant here. I don't know if that's what your intent was, but the city does not go and sort of find tenants like Whole Foods, Ole City Market, and bring them to the commission. The tenant identifies in the private market, what spaces are available and says, hey, I'd like to move in here, right? And if the zoning is okay, we don't dictate if it's a discount grocer or a high-end grocer or a seafood market or a butchery. It's retail. So Ole City Market, not anything the city has control over. And I don't mean that in any bad way. It's just like we're blind to that. We're neutral to that. What we are not neutral to that we have a recommendation for is the request for alcohol. That's it.
Thank you, that's helpful. And I think it'd be great for city staff, the community planners to explain on the entire process to the neighborhoods, just so they understand what that looks like and everything you just said as well. And then at the same time, the purview of this commission and what we're voting on and what, if anything, different the council would vote on.
And then, Madam Vice Chair, before the voting of the reopening of the public hearing, I think for my benefit as a case planner who's been kind of at the beginning of this project through its entirety, it'd be, I think, a good thing to identify maybe if you feel like the noticing wasn't meeting some sort of legal requirement, or if this is going above and beyond a legal requirement. I also want to make sure that we're kind of in a good basis with all parties. Because as what staff has identified to you is that we've met all of legal requirements for public hearing. And so if you feel differently, I think that'd be part of the record that we need to identify.
Yes, thank you. So not saying legal requirements were not met, asking that we go above and beyond. And I wanted to state my submotion because I am asking of additional effort from the applicant so that they've heard it, and during the public hearing, they can also comment whether or not they're amicable to that.
And if I can caution, I think the reason I bring this up is because I would recommend that maybe we consider how we apply this above and beyond equally, right? So if we haven't gone above and beyond for another CUP like this, I just want you to consider the above and beyond for this specific applicant. That's all. You are within your right to suggest and make comments and conditions, but that's all I would ask you to consider.
Thank you. And then maybe when we come back to the voting for the submotion, I'd ask just legal counsel to weigh in if there are any thoughts on that, but I won't delay the public hearing any longer.
Recording Secretary, can you please call for a roll call vote to open the public hearing again?
Commissioner Benninger,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Leo,
No.
Commissioner Pham, Commissioner Wu,
We're just voting on reopening. That's all.
Where's the applicant? On the phone? Oh, okay. Yes.
Vice Chair Ramos,
Yes.
Chair Oliva,
Yes.
Motion approved by a majority vote with Commissioner Leo dissenting and Commissioner Pham absent.
Okay, the public hearing is now open. Would the applicant like to speak on the matter? Maria or Yvonne?
Yes, good afternoon. Hello? Yes, good afternoon. My name is Yvonne, and unfortunately, the owner couldn't be present today. But I do hear you guys are questioning about the outreach to the community. So we did send out letters to the community last week on regards the new upcoming Olay City Market to your city.
Were you able to hear all our questions or would you like us to repeat them?
Uh, can you repeat those questions again?
I wasn't taking notes to who was asking the questions to the applicant, but I'll run down the line again. Commissioner Benninger,
I'm going to pass right now.
Commissioner Scamilla,
I guess the first question was just around if you happen to know the square footage as compared to the original, area for the Northgate CUP. So I'm not sure if you, during the review process in the proposal, looked to see what was there before and then are just matching it. So just trying to get an understanding of that, if you have that information available.
No, I don't have that information available.
Okay, thank you.
Vice Chair Ramos.
Yeah, I think there were a few questions asked by some of the residents in the neighborhood, but I'll just stick to the questions questions on what I'm asking you all to do to see if it's something that would be feasible. But would you all be open to having additional meetings with the neighborhood association so that they can ask questions of you all directly?
Yes, we are open to do that with the community if they if they allow us. And yes, that's a yes.
And would you also be willing to send additional notices to a larger radius?
Yes, we can do that, definitely.
Thank you. And then I guess the last part, are you okay with this item being continued to a later time that you all and staff can agree on? So to ensure that you have enough time to have those meetings with the neighborhoods?
Yes,
Perfect.
I
Thank you.
agree.
Commissioner Pham.
I was like,
Commissioner Wu? Okay, so we're good with questions. I would like to share that I would probably err on the side of caution for asking applicants to go above and beyond, because if that's the case, maybe we can submit something for the record to extend the radius. I know we're already doing more than what the state requires of us, but I don't know if we should do individual signaling out of applicants as this goes through, but that's just my my thoughts on that. Do we have any additional questions for the applicant? Okay, so I will close the public hearing now. Is there a motion to approve this matter?
So I stated my submotion. I'm wondering if there's a second.
Can you repeat your submotion, please?
Yes. So there was a lot to it, but well, one, and I didn't add this before, but had mentioned it earlier, if we can, when this comes back, if we can add the additional condition, just reemphasizing that any CUP approval is kind of conditional to all the other conditions being met around construction. So that's one. Two, now knowing that the applicant is in agreement, requiring that they have additional meetings with the neighborhood association so that the neighborhood associations can directly ask questions. Also requiring that the applicant provide notices to a larger radius just to throw out a number and open a friendly amendment if there are any, but I'm gonna say to 2,500 feet, knowing that the applicant is open to additional notices. And then the third thing was asking that a community planner be available at a future neighborhood meeting to just answer questions for residents on exactly what this process has been, and also to share the purview of the planning commission and what we can decide and what, if anything else, if anything different, the council can decide on this matter. Is that clear?
Madam Vice Chair, if I could ask for clarification on what exactly you mean about the process, because the process for the CUP application is an applicant submits an application, and 6-7 weeks later, it's presented in front of you, assuming that it meets all requirements. But are you asking about a process for tenanting of this site by what Acting Director Mr. Pescador presented is like a market condition? Because I don't know that we can provide that information. It's all who the property owner chooses to lease with. So I guess I want clarification about what you're looking for from staff to present to the community, because it's been vacant from 2022. And as mentioned earlier, I think what happens is that these spaces are, just from what we've seen, a little harder to tenant, just given the size, right? So if you're asking what happened between 2022 to 2025 now, likely it was just very difficult to tenant, and post-COVID, that's all that stuff that I don't want to speculate, but that's what could happen. So I guess I'm asking for clarification. What information do you need from staff specifically?
Yeah, so if staff could just provide all of that to the residents. I know it might not be perfect and just might not be, it might be the only, it might only be what you've shared now, which I think is okay if that's all that there is.
Our
Madam
planners
Chair,
in attendance will be able to answer those questions.
Yeah, so
Thank you.
whatever information there is that's relevant and appropriate, I'll leave that to the discretion of staff. And I think based off the questions that the neighbors have asked, there should be guidance there as well.
So just for
point of
surrounding neighborhood,
clarification, are we redirecting staff to do something? I thought we only, at this point, we have a motion. We either vote on it, up or down.
I made a
or
sub-motion.
Wait a minute, or continue it, right? That was the motion. Are you putting another motion on?
Yes.
Giving an instruction?
Yes.
So we have to vote on that too?
You have to
before
vote
we
on
go
mine
on the
first
other
before you,
motions?
yeah.
Okay, that's what I want to know.
And then ensuring that this is also continuing the public hearing. I don't think I had shared that. It's a completely new motion. If mine gets denied, then you go back to the original.
Is there a second for Vice Chair Ramos's motion? Seeing no motion, no second, my apologies. Seeing no second, we'll return to Commissioner Benninger's initial motion to continue the conversation to a later date. We don't have to say March 24th, or do we have to say March 24th? Okay, so the motion from Commissioner Benninger is to continue the public hearing to a future Planning Commission meeting. Is there a second?
And I'll second that one.
So there's a motion by Commissioner Benninger and a second by Commissioner Escamilla. Secretary, please call for a roll call vote.
Commissioner Benninger?
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla?
Aye.
Commissioner Leo?
Aye.
Commissioner Pham?
No.
Commissioner Wu?
I'm voting no to continue it. I want to vote yes or no.
Vice Chair Ramos?
Aye.
Chair Oliva?
Aye.
Motion approved with majority vote with Commissioner Pham and Chair Oliva dissenting.
Oh, I didn't dissent.
Commissioner
Sorry.
Wu.
Commissioner Wu and Commissioner Pham dissenting.
All right, so that is the end of our public hearing. Does the commission have any comments or questions for staff?
sorry, Chair, as a formality, I know you said at the beginning that item 4 was not on the agenda, but you'll need to take a formal vote to continue the item as requested by the applicant for 30 days. I just want to share that the reason the applicant's requesting the continuance is that they learned of some community input on the proposed project and would like an opportunity to revisit some of the proposed designs and work on those with staff before bringing it back to the commission. So they requested at first a 30-day continuance. They were on their way here, but they're coming from Los Angeles. They requested that I sort of mention that background for the reason for the continuance request.
So moved.
We appreciate it. Do we have to vote on that?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, bless. Okay, so, recording secretary, please call for a roll call
And
vote.
just to clarify, 30 days would put us at the April 14th meeting. Thank you.
Okay, so that item 4 will be moved to the April.
I'm sorry, who motioned that?
I motioned it. We need a second. Yeah.
Okay, Commissioner Benninger,
Aye.
Commissioner Escamilla,
Aye.
Commissioner Leo,
Aye.
Commissioner Pham,
Aye.
Commissioner Wu,
Aye.
Vice Chair Ramos,
Aye.
Chair Oliva.
Aye.
Motion approved by unanimous consent.
All right, that concludes the public hearing. Moving on to staff comments.
Well, thank you for a very riveting evening. I do want to make some positive announcements. So, Pedro Gomez, whom you don't see too frequently presenting because he's a fantastic supervisor, he has been promoted to principal planner. Very proud of his achievements. Our case planner that you saw earlier, Heidi Jacinto, has accepted an opportunity for growth with a neighboring jurisdiction. So we're very proud of her. This was the last presentation you had from her, but we're very proud of what she's grown into and learned here at the City of Santa Ana. We also have Ricardo, who is now our acting planning manager. So very proud of him. Ricardo's been with the city for about 12 years, holds a master's degree in planning from USC, and has both experience in current and advanced planning, like long-range planning, as well as some historic preservation. So he's a great person to fill this role. So as we move forward with commission meetings, of course, I'll still be here from time to time, but you may also sometimes see Ricardo. And rest assured, he has all the skills and qualifications beyond me, probably, to fill that seat. So very proud of him as well.
Those are all great comments. Congratulations, y'all. Does the commission have any comments or questions for staff? Commissioner Benninger.
Well, I'd like to welcome back Commissioner Ramos. I know she, for reasons that she lived in the neighborhood, couldn't be involved for the three meetings. We definitely missed you. So we're glad to have you back. Those are long nights, believe me. So I'd like to have back. And congratulations to Pedro and Ricardo. Congratulations, gentlemen, on your new promotions. And with that, just pleasant nights.
Commissioner Escamilla.
Yeah, no, congrats again. Well earned, well deserved. I think the planning future is in good hands right now. So it's looking good. Yeah, no other comments. Yeah.
Commissioner Leo.
I have a couple after sitting through that. My first question is, we have a lot of properties like the one we just discussed in this city. If we're going to do the dance every time a complicated project comes up here, we're going to be here very, very late every time. This project, the one that came forward, the people asking about the property next door is essential. Those two pieces go together. It's very hard, and I understand the private market brought us a project. Project is just a stopgap compared to looking at bigger decisions, right? We've got a lot of properties in the city that are like what we discussed tonight. A lot of them that are either small remnants, pieces that don't fit, jamming stuff into things. We need to be a little bit more, I don't know if it's prescriptive because the general plan's already been approved, but we need to figure out how to do that in a way that not only helps the applicant, because I think the applicant's got plenty of issues to deal with on their own, but how we do this going forward, right? We're gonna widen Bristol some more. We're gonna have issues. We've had issues, right? So as we go into these projects, and you guys see the flags, because you obviously been working on projects like this, let us know. There were flags probably well before on other projects. Bristol, we know, the doctors, McDonald's, whatever, In-N-Out, everything we're putting on pieces that don't work. The Starbucks further that was approved. So we need to figure out a way to deal with those pieces, because this property is one of them, considering the parking and hacienda and other thing. From my standpoint, so let me switch gears another thing. On notice, Commissioner Ramos brought up questions about notice. As I understand how it works, and you correct me if I'm wrong, you guys, we have an elevated level of 1,000. In addition to that, you notify the neighborhood association, right? Most of the time. It is incumbent upon the neighborhood association to notify their email list, whatever neighborhood they're in. That is how it's supposed to work. If there is no neighborhood association, I'm sure there's another process. At some point, we can't feed these people information. You guys are stretched thin. You don't have enough staff. I know that, and everybody knows that. That's why electronically you try to do it. So if you could figure out a better way to do it, because Commissioner Ramos raised an issue, it's incumbent upon the neighborhood association to send it out once they get notice from you. People can read it or not read it. And there are plenty of people who aren't part of their neighborhood association who don't get involved. Carl's been at it many years. He knows. Either you choose to engage in your community or you don't. We can't spoon feed them to do so. So what I'm asking is, if that is the process, stick with the process, because people need to understand that not every project that goes on within 4,000 feet of their house, they're going to get notice. It doesn't happen that way. It just doesn't. And I'm sorry, there's 350,000 or 30,000 people live in the city. Not everybody's going to get notice. It just happens. So I don't think I want my resources to go beyond what you guys are already doing. If you want resources to go to that, that's a city council decision to give you more resources. It's not our decision to put more work on you when you're already stretched, right? City Hall's closed one day every 2 weeks, right? There's a reason for that, right? We got residents that are paying the highest taxes in the county. So we need to figure out how we're going to do this, because we can't keep demanding more be done when we don't have the resources to do so. It's a city council decision. And so I get concerned because it sounds like neighborhood association got notice. The lady on the street next door, she figured it, somebody notified her. But did the email go out from the neighborhood association to the residents who were on their email list? So that's incumbent upon the city council members in their neighborhoods, and it's also incumbent upon the neighborhood association. You guys have a process. It doesn't need to be messed with. City council members send out newsletters. I don't understand why we have to continually spoon feed people. At some point, engage. At some point, engage. And we have enough bilingual speakers at the city that can engage with communities that feel that they're marginalized or don't have access. But don't say you don't know, because you get a bill. You get noticed. It's gotten to the point where we've stretched staff so thin that they can't do it. And I heard Pedro's frustration today. I heard it. How many more times is he going to have to know? Please tell me what you want me to do. How much more do you want me to do? Oh, I'm sorry. He's got 10 projects. It's rough. And I don't know what more people expect from the staff we have. I just don't know. So I'm done.
Vice Chair Ramos.
Thank you. So thank you, staff. Wanted to thank the community that was here, but they've left. But nonetheless, thank them for coming and voicing their concerns. Congratulations to staff as well. And I also just want to, thank you, staff, for all the work that you do. And I think that it's always great to hear resident feedback and hear firsthand what their experience is in receiving information. So to the extent that our community planners, through the meetings, they already have emails, the newsletters they already send out. To the extent that they can provide additional information, I think that's great. There's always room for improvement. I know you all do a great job, but also having been, well, still a resident and knowing what it's like to be on the other side when you're not on the dais and you don't receive information at the same level, I would encourage us to always just seek to ensure we're doing everything we can. So thank you.
Commissioner Pham.
As a point of clarification, I think Ali was a bit too modest. I think he's also the acting executive director as well. So, and congratulations, Ali. Yeah, because he can't really sell it himself. Other than that, yeah, I would echo. There's been a lot. There's been a lot of work. And I get it. It's hard to reach out to everyone. But also, I appreciate, Pedro, your presentation and then your multiple responses. So I appreciate it. Yeah.
Commissioner Wu.
To answer your question, Commissioner Leo, there's a long history in terms of support with the neighborhood association, and it's not staff fault. There's a change in the city in terms of commitment to the neighborhoods. When originally going back to the 1980s, when there were no neighborhood association, we created SANO, 13 neighborhood representing the low-income barrio neighborhood. We were successful. Because we were successful, City Manager A.J. Wilson decided to use federal funds, community block grant, to fund his own community organizer to go out there and work. That evolved into Scott Kudner, who was very good at training neighborhoods, and that followed on Margarita, who's been promoted to planning. So the neighborhood improvement and neighborhood relationship department used to be great. Neighborhood association presidents that cannot develop flyer could go there. They did it for them, printed, they gave it to them, they handed it out in the neighborhood. They sent out emails and all that. They support Comlink now more than they do support the neighborhood association. Why? You're going to have to look at the top, at the city manager level, where power is being gravitated between the mayor and a city manager, okay? And then the council people have to struggle to get resources. They were on the front line of communicating with the communication. There are some that don't want to communicate through Comlink. They rather do it through the neighborhood association because they have had a history of relationship at the grassroots level. Okay, so they're just caught in between. They're employees of the city, but there's a philosophy change of where the resources go in the dollar at a time when our treasury is not as healthy as it, because we came out of COVID, all that federal funding's gone, and we may be losing some other federal funding related kind of thing. As our budget is maybe going more towards public safety, because there's an illusion that we have a public safety problem. Instead, we have people in this community who need more services and neighborhoods that needs more support in order to deal with it. If we are to not police our way out of our problem, okay? Like everyone blamed the homeless people. It may not be homeless. Maybe someone in the neighborhood, jacking around with her property. You can't put that in association with the liquor store. So some of these things are here we are, we're doing what we can. Notice that I get out. In this particular case, it was well known between two neighborhood associations, got the word out to the importance that people felt. The ones that are closer to the store felt more inclined to come. If you're 1,000 feet away, you kind of go, what I care? It's grocery store, I go grocery store. Liquor store thing, you may not have that detail. So I think you're both right, Commissioner Ramos and Leo. You brought up some good point with them. My thing was like, you either vote for these, because it's scheduled to do it. If it's not good, it doesn't meet the what we want. If we want to look at the broader question that you asked, we should talk about how much more liquor store, and bars and things Do we, are we a bar economy, alcohol driven? I've asked that before, but we never saw that problem because, again, we wisely are told to look at the CPUC condition and all that, which is all we could do. But somehow we get into the micromanagement of the stuff. We don't look at just what is the resolution. So, I agree with you. That's the frustration on our side. You probably have the equal frustration hearing this, and I don't blame you if you do. And we probably all have an opinion about the restructuring of power in the city. And I think it could be done in a more less hostile, less aggressive manner, less top-down manner. But, how do you get there? You have to elect people who feel the same as you do. And right now, the votes are not there to have a decent discussion. When Vince was mayor, we didn't have this kind of problem. More, being able to talk, get things done, So,
Commissioners,
that's
I
it.
just want to keep this as a
Yes, I'm sorry if
non-political
I crossed the
forum,
thing. I
right?
didn't mean to do that. It
Thank
just-
you.
Just I've been with the city too long.
I don't have a comment. I think all my fellow commissioners said everything that needed to be said. With that, this meeting is adjourned. The next regular meeting is scheduled for March 24, 2025 at 5:30 p.m.